and we can turn that bail so that it is up, and it will sit nice and flat on your deck, pointing up. Nothing's going to happen to your bail. Here's a little rig that Sandi and I call better than a Ned Rig. Hi folks, Clay Roberts, KastKing Pro Team. How about 5 tips for tournament fishing? This is going to be for anybody, whether you're just getting started or maybe you can, even a more advanced fella can, or gal can take something away from this. Tip number one. It's so important, and it's so important in all sports and in life and even in your work. Tip number one, we're going to do, it's a mental tip. A little bit of the mental aspect, which is very important in bass fishing, especially tournament fishing. You found a frog bite. You're just getting started fishing. You found a frog bite. Your tournament's the next morning. You're pretty excited. You're jazzed. You're pretty sure you're going to be able to get at least one big one on a frog. There's not a pro out there that hasn't, tournament morning, been all jazzed and excited and amped up, and that big bass kills your frog and you strike too fast. You pull it away from the frog. It's happened to all of us. We're so excited. Human reflexes are just pretty much amazing that they can yank that frog away before the bass can actually eat it. Tip number one is visualization. The night before, or even before you're leaving to the tournament, as you're driving to the tournament, just visualize the strike. Visualize your cast, visualize working the frog back, visualize that bass coming up and whacking your frog, and then visualize yourself pausing, waiting for that bass to get that frog, and then strike. You'll be amazed at how this will translate into real life, and you actually will pause. So tip number one, give it a try. Tip number two, take a look at this. Spinning rods, I see this all the time. Nice KastKing reel, Speed Demon Pro, set up under the, what do you see that might be an issue here? You're running down the lake, you got some waves, it's a windy morning. I see this all the time. Check the Bale Position. This can end up, when you get to your first spot, if you have some rough water, you end up with a bent bail or something worse. Very easy. I'm going to unlatch this rod, just show you really quick. So you can see the bail is down, the handle is up. I see people do this. So we're just going to turn the spool with our fingers against the drag, and we can turn that bail so that it is up, and it will sit nice and flat on your deck, pointing up. Nothing's going to happen to your bail. When you get to your first spot, you'll be able to make a perfect cast first thing in the morning. Tip number three, kind of goofy, but we're trying to get one up on the competition here. Sandi and I picked these up at a gas station. They actually have these for you now at some stations for pumping gas. Just put this on your radar. It's just a glove that you can put on your hand as you're pumping your gas in the morning, as you're filling your boat, so that you don't get any gas on your hand. Maybe I'm too particular about this, but I don't want to have any smell of gas as I'm rigging up my rods, putting on my soft plastics. I don't want that smell of gas to transfer to the bait. Or even use this as you're putting on your sunscreen on your face, so you don't have that sunscreen on your hand and transfer that. Just something extra particular that you can do to maybe get that extra bite. Tip number four. I feel like, remember Count Dracula on Sesame Street back in the day? I still remember that. Number 4. Anyway, this is actually a bait tip. Fishing's tough. We've had those days, and we're in those days right now here in southern Colorado. It's hot, the water's warm, the bass are incredibly finicky. Maybe you haven't caught a fish yet, or maybe you're just looking for that last one to get your 5. So we have the Ned Rig. We all know about the Ned Rig. Catches fish when you need it. May not be a big one. They do catch big ones, but it catches a fish. Here's a little rig that Sandi and I call better than a Ned Rig. Three-inch bait. Your favorite 3-inch bait. This happens to be a 3-inch Senko. 1/16 ounce bullet weight, free on the line, not pegged, and a super light #1. You can use a EWG. This is a round band offset. Great to catch the fish that you got to have. Tip number 5. Some of these things kind of seem pretty inconsequential, but you won't believe how this will help your day. It will help you catch fish. And we can kind of go back to my first tip on mental. This mental aspect, this can also translate right back to that focus. You're jerk baiting. It's a jerk bait bite. You're jerking all day long. You start getting, and we've all had it, a little spot starts to rub on your finger somewhere where you're holding on the rod. You start to get a little hot spot, a little spot that's starting to rub raw. Well, your mind starts focusing on that instead of maybe watching where your line is going into the water. I always have a big supply of waterproof Band-Aids, tape. This is great stuff. Pre-wrap, you can, for like sports, wrap before you bandage up your ankle, what have you, that you can wrap around your rod. Moleskin, you can put a little piece of moleskin right on that spot where you need a little extra cushion where you're having a problem, so that just eliminates that, gets it out of your mind, and you can continue to focus on fishing instead of that little little blister that you got going on. Thanks. Clay Roberts, KastKing Pro Team. Those are my top 5 tournament tips.